Hi, I'm Tipp the Barber. We're at Barber Bros in Swarsville, PA. This is Mike. I'm going to be doing a high skin fade and some beard work today. So I start with my FX trimmer to put the initial line in. While trying to keep the line even around the whole head. And I use the temples as my guideline to finish setting the bald line. And once this line is set, you can continue with the haircut. Really, anything below the line doesn't matter because you're just going to be taking that off at the end. Now I'll be switching to my babeless clipper to set the low level of the hair, and I'll be going with the grain. And now I will start with the no guard open, and that's going to set my bottom fade line, which I think is the hardest part of the haircut. Now, even though I went in with a 1.5 with the grain, I will go against the grain because against the grain will always cut shorter. So it's more important to brush out every time. You could actually see when you go up with the clipper, the hairs start to curl and push in. So when you brush out, it straightens them out. And a lot of times if you don't brush it, your clipper will just miss hairs, which creates the lines and the bald spots in the haircut. So as long as you remember to brush out, it should always be a smooth transition with the fade. And after I set my line, I do one side of the head first, just so I could match both sides evenly. I'm now switching to my one guard, and I will do the same as the last steps by going from open to close. And with this babeless clipper, it actually has notches on the side to help fasten the clipper in so it doesn't move while you're cutting. And the shorter I go with my guards, the less of the blade I use because it creates less of a margin for error. I start to use just the corner, which also creates a little bit more of a smooth blend. And now I'm going to my half guard and also repeating the same steps. This method is also referred to as blade reduction when you're going down in levels from your highest to your lowest. And then last but not least is no guard, corner only, and flicking the wrist somewhat so you don't go into the longer hairs and create lines on the head. Now I will go back to my trimmer, and there's still a line at the bottom, and I will just use the corner of this trimmer to kind of help fade out those shadows and finish the transition to skin. Now this side of the head is finished. Kind of take a mental picture and then just move to the other side. And go back to my 1.5 open. And although it may seem tedious to brush after every time you go down a level, it impacts your haircut. Go down to my 1 guard, and again, blade reduction. Then we switch back to my 1/2 guard again. And now it's no guard. Another thing is also, most people don't like the babeless for fading, but I put the Magic Clip fade blade on it for it to be able to cut just as close, because the Magic Clip is my, go-to clipper. But this clipper is stronger, so it's better for fading curly hair. So I decided to take the better blade and put it on the better clipper. And again, I will take one of my finishing tools, a trimmer, and with the corner, just slowly get those small hairs out to take away that shadow at the line. And the last spot, which I always consider the most difficult, just because with any person, the head shape can be protruding, could be concave. So this part you really have to take note of how the head is. His head is pretty symmetrical all the way around, so it's not a problem ever. And again, I'll start with the open 1.5. I leave a little bit of hair here because I use clipper over comb to get that down, just because it's the crown area, so I like to make sure it matches the shape of the head. 1 open. We're gonna do blade reduction all the way down to closed. Ready to switch down to the 1/2. It's very important to pay attention to your clipper and where it's going so you don't chase the haircut up the head. And this is where I just go through and try and just deplete any shadows or anything that might be overshadowing the skin to trimmer line. And the last part of the fading will be again just the trimmer, taking out that bald line. And then this is where I will do clipper over comb to just smooth out. Smooth out the hair. And all that does is it helps follow the transition from clipper to the top of the head to again make the haircut look as symmetrical as possible. And the good thing with curly hair is you don't have to use clipper over comb. You could go into it with just the clipper. You just have to pay attention because you could create bald spots if you go too deep or go against the grain. And then you can see the hairs on top, they're kind of sticking up. I'll go over that with my clipper. Freehand. And that will just give it a smoother transition. And it just creates better quality for the haircut overall. And I like to ride the heel just so I protect the hair from getting cut too short. Any shadows, I'm just going with the corner of a little bit bigger of a clip, and that'll help take away any leftover shadows that are at the top of your fade without affecting the haircut. The most important part, in my opinion, to the haircut. I tend to use the corner of the trimmer just because it gives the sharpest, most detailed lines. The hairline is the only thing I say you could go back and touch up in the middle of doing it, because you want to try and make it as even as possible, and if it isn't even, you want to fix it because you may forget about it, which then takes away quality from your haircut. So right now I like the way that looks, it's even, and I'm going to match on the other side. I like to hit with the trimmer and then pull away from the hairline And I always draw an imaginary line on my eyes and go a little bit under it, just in case I do need to move up higher.
You like the haircut? Good, I'm glad you like it. Yeah, I think it's awesome.
So now I will clean off the bottom, the hair that I had left there. That's just going to be with the trimmer. It's a great finishing tool. I think it's the best on the market right now, just for getting down as close to the skin and as sharp of lines as you could possibly get. It pretty much takes it down bald. And then it makes it a lot easier for you to use your finishing tool like the foil shavers. And then when you take this hair off at the bottom, it takes away the transparency of the haircut, which you could then actually start to see more shadows, which helps you with finishing your haircut. Now I will get my foil shaver, which is also made by Babeless. And this is just going to take it down as close as a razor would, which most barbers like to use this to give more of a blurry transition with the skin fade. And it helps with time restrictions if you have a packed schedule. And then to finish the hairline, you can see that there are hairs that stick out. I will go in there, look from behind, and take shears. And this just helps with all those extras that stick off the head. And again, just makes the haircut look smoother overall. Now with the beard, we will just be shaping it up, making it look clean, fading out the top here. I'm just trying to make it as sharp as possible and also match the haircut. And just by looking, I could tell I'll probably go in with a 1 open. He likes his beard nice and sharp, kind of to a point up here, so I won't take it down to skin, but I still transition it down so it's, again, smooth. I know I use that word a lot, but that's what makes the most sense when trying to explain, I guess you could say, flush with the head. So I know I'm skipping a guard, but I go from the 1 to just a open guard. I use the corner for the top, and when I shape it up, it'll still have the point at the top of the beard. So now I'll rest him back, and the only reason why that is, it's easier for the barber. You also want to set the headrest to where it's comfortable for you. You want them to be comfortable, but where his head is placed is important to how the beard comes out. I like to look from the top down. I could see where the hairs stick out, and I could turn his head freely and properly cut the hairs I need to cut to finish the job. I'm a firm believer in freehanding beards. I think that is not the only way, but the most efficient way. Everybody's beard is different. It grows in different directions. So sometimes taking a 4 into his beard opposed to another client's beard won't have the same outcome. I also like to use the magic clip to set the line for the beard. It's a strong clipper, but it's not strong enough to the point where it'll dig into the skin while using it like a trimmer. And it sets a very clean line for your detailers to come in and finish it. Everybody does the top line differently. I go in with the teeth forward, just like if I was lining up the hairline. Again, it's all time efficient for me. I try to keep a haircut and a beard trim in under an hour. And then I'll just lightly create a line here so I know where to go up to with my straight razor. I push into the mustache and then lightly pull out. Mustache flip I always get at the end. That's like the last step. Weird last step, but just how I've always done it. I personally like to use Elegant Shave Gel. It's great to use, it's clear, you can see everything you're doing, you can see your blade going right up to the lines you've made. So therefore you're not chasing anything or creating any indents where they shouldn't be and having to alter your haircut or your beard work. The hot towel softens the hair follicle, which makes it easier to shave and a little bit more pleasant for the person getting it done to them. So I use a regular comb just to it grabs the hairs a little bit better. So I'll comb this through just so I know when I'm shaving up to it, I'm not hitting any hairs that I shouldn't. I pull the skin as tight as I can. And by judgment, I use parts of the blade that I think need to be used for that section of the beard. As I get up to the top, it's more of the top corner of the blade. And that's going to give it that point at the top there. And I could continue to follow the line all the way through. And then you also want to shave the hairs at different angles because even shaving with or against the grain may not take them down completely, which causes illusions in the haircut and it doesn't make it look complete. As I get closer to the line on the bottom, my blade moves a little bit slower as I get closer to the line to make it even so there's no jagged lines or edges. I use the nose to be able to shave the mustache. This part you really have to go, piece by piece, because with the chin being rounded, making a straight line is pretty difficult on any chin shape. And due to the skin being delicate on the bottom of the neck, I use a second blade just so I know it's not doled out and smoothly shaved through the hair. Pull the skin and just be aware of the Adam's apple area. Luckily his is not as protruding, so it's not as difficult of a area as per usual. Now I'll bring the headrest back up a little bit and I'll do his hairline. I'll go away from the hairline first just to get a general consensus on where the line's going to be. And then I will go back towards the hairline to darken the shape up and take away that stubble. Now I'll just get the whole forehead because that actually will make the haircut. You can see there's peach fuzz and hair in the forehead that takes away from the look of the haircut. And with the eyebrows, this is also another important finishing service that brings out certain aspects of your haircut. Now I will sit him up. I will do my checks. First I usually dust off, clean them, just because there might be hairs on there that you think are a line and realistically they're just loose hairs that haven't been brushed off the head yet. And now, like I said, just the last part will be trimming the mustache. I don't do it while they're laying down just because they end up eating it and that's not fun. At the end, you just check the haircut.
Yeah, whenever. I'll be here.
No shadows or lines.
Enjoy the
If there are, you just go over.
your coat. I'll be here. I forgot. No, I have. Oh,
And that is a skin fade and beard trim,
it really just tastes like beef, huh?
finished and complete.
You've been missing your grooming tips? Well, you can now get them over at Beardbrand Alliance. This channel is just for barbershops, and the new channel is about looking your best.